Cheers. Honey ginger tea. Needed. Hey, Tap here. Week 6, Whispers Behind My Smile. Today we're going to talk about cultivating mindfulness in daily life. We're going to take a look back on the last 5 weeks. And I don't know. We're going to talk about some other stuff. Not even sure yet. But I do have notes. I have a lot of notes. So I will be looking down. 6 weeks is a lot of ground to cover to stay retained in this brain right about now. So, how are you guys doing? How are you keeping? I hope everybody's keeping well. If this is your first time here, hi. My name is Tap. I talk about things, mainly things around curating your life, being intentional, and mindfulness and just really living life how you want to. And the last 6 weeks, the last 5 weeks, I have been taking myself through a self care, self nurturing journey called Whispers Behind My Smile. It is for 12 weeks. I'm at that middle mark right now. It is a pivot point for me. It's a look back point for me. It's a celebration point for me. It's a reminder to keep going. And I don't know if you are doing this or maybe you're doing a self discovery journey of a different sort, but wherever you are in your journey, I just want to tell you right now to stop and celebrate. It doesn't matter how much you've accomplished, it doesn't matter how much you still have to do. Just celebrate the fact that you are prioritizing yourself and you're trying to be accountable to taking care of you. I think that's something that we don't call out enough. And I want to make sure that I call it out. So, week 6. I'm also going to talk about the book. So let me talk about the book because the book is what's making me pivot the next 6 weeks. So I talked about it in last week's episode, which was delayed in getting out to you, but it's there. I'll put a link in the description. And the book I'm reading right now, I always take my covers off my hardcovers, my hardcover books. So yeah, let me just do it this way. There you go. So I am currently reading Atomic Habits. It is by James Clear. It is tiny changes for remarkable results, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. Um, I'm a girl who likes to tab and recently started highlighting again. So I'm not sure if you can see. This is just section 1. I'm just about to get into the meat of the book, the first law. And I have to say that the first 50 some odd pages has been an interesting read. I'm going at a slow pace. And I'm saying slow because I thought maybe I would read this throughout January. The goal is hopefully to get through a good chunk of it, but I'm pretty sure I won't be done reading it in January. And it's not a race, right? So, this book so far, when I talked in last week's episode, I talked about last week was supposed to be in regards to goals, smart goals, setting them up, all focused on self care. So, putting in all the goals of what you want to do and then, activating that. And I started reading this book, and this book talked about focusing on the system, not the goals. And it's really put me in a thinking process for the last couple of days. So, I will probably do a separate video on this. But again, James Clear, Atomic Habits. If you don't have it, get it. Audiobook. I don't know if that's out there. I highly suggest that everybody should take a moment and invest in themselves and nurture themselves and read. And I read some other stuff as well that's not always about wellness and intentional and living and mindfulness. But I think this is fitting for this journey I'm on. So when I started this journey, I created it. I've been going through a plethora of stuff, post-it notes and saved pages in Pinterest and scribbles in my notebooks and my journals. And I started to pull this together and not really knowing how it was going to impact me. I just knew I needed to do it, which is why I'm encouraging everybody to, jump in and do it for yourself or take the self-discovery journey, whatever it needs to look like for you, but really to prioritize you. So for me, week 1, we're going to take a journey backwards and then we'll talk about week 6 and any other thoughts that comes to mind. So week 1, it was about laying the foundation. So it was about defining and knowing your why. Why are you doing this? What does success look like? Setting intentions. What areas of your life do you want to focus on? And it was really important to really have clarity around that because that's your North Star. That's what you're going to keep defaulting back to as your journey changes throughout this 12-week process, right? And for me, I was really clear about my intention. My intention is to have a flow that fits where I am and who I am right now in my life. The areas of my life, I had 5 areas of my life that I was focusing on. We'll see how that goes, because I'm now focused on a system, not exactly those items, but they fall into the system. Talk a little bit about that later on. And then there was the um, what does success look like on the other side of this? And I stated it in the last video and probably other videos as well. This is not about doing a 12-week program. You check it off of the list and you put a star beside your name and you're done. This is really about building a sustainable system, process, goals, structure that takes you well beyond 12 weeks. To do all this work for 12 weeks and then fall back into old habits and patterns and behaviors, you're going to end up kicking yourself that you've wasted 12 weeks. And you shouldn't look at it that way. But I know for myself, I don't want to just do this for 12 weeks, check a box, and then go back to everything I was doing before. I really want to help build a foundation for myself that I can continue building on. I can continue refining. But at the end of the day, I want to know that I am putting in the work on who I am right now and who I'm evolving to as the days, weeks, months, and years go by in this life journey, right? So, week one, talked about that. That was laying the foundation. And week two, I had to think about that for a second. And week two, like every week, you're layering on top of what you've done the week before. So, nothing you're doing is a throwaway. If anything, it's provoking deeper thought because you're getting clearer amongst each step along the way, right? So, for week two, that was about slowing down and just being still. And the reason why I focused week 2 that way was because when you sit down to, you know, do a self-discovery, your brain is going to go in many directions. Mine always does the reflection, the look back, as I like to call it, as well as current state, and then all of the things that I want to do. And the goal wasn't to try to fix and do anything, it was really to just observe, to slow down in the crazy pace of life that we live in. The power of the pause. Those of you who don't know, I have a podcast on Spotify and Apple and a few other places. It's not here on YouTube because it's audio only, but the podcasts, I'll talk about that later on. But power of the pause, it's to just take a moment and recenter yourself, just to ground yourself. And week 2 was about that, right? When you start a journey like this and your brain is going a million miles an hour, you need to take a moment to pause so you don't overwhelm yourself before you even started doing the heavy lifting of the work that's required. But at the same time, being still allows you the clarity to understand who you are. And then we get to week 3. Week 3 was reconnecting, and it was reconnecting with self because, let's face it, we all have titles, spouse, partner, a few others along the way of that. We're parents. We have a job, so we have a title that we have to, do work and adhere to. We have other responsibilities throughout our life, that, friends and family roles that we have to play. And when you're playing all these roles and you have all these titles, different versions of you step forward, no matter how authentic you are being. So, week 3 was just to reconnect with yourself and ask yourself those questions. Who are you when no one's watching? When the lights are off, the cameras are off, you're not sitting in the meeting expected to perform, what dealing with the kids, the cat, the budgie, the dog, the fish, whatever it is. When you take away all of those requirements, when you take away all of those responsibilities, who are you? Like, who is the core essence of you? And that's something I was always trying to figure out almost 10 years ago when I made some major shifts in my life in terms of some of my personal relationships. And I didn't have it figured out. I just knew that I had titles associated to me. And I didn't really know who I was when I started taking away those titles. And fast forward almost 10 years later, I am now doing this journey to try to really intentionally figure it out and not just float along the way and just trip along the way on whatever I come across. So I'm doing the work now. Was I ready to do this 10 years ago? I wasn't ready to do this 10 years ago because I really didn't figure out who I was and who I wasn't. And it takes a while, right? Like, even doing this in 12 weeks, this is just, a layer of it. The way I'm looking at this is after the 12 weeks, I still have a lot more work to do. So when you're reconnecting with yourself after you've just gone through the overwhelming thought of, I'm about to start to unplug. I'm going to start to lift the layers underneath the hood and see what's going on with who you are when nobody is watching, who you are when all those titles are being put to bed. What is that person all about? And a lot of us don't know what that person's all about because we're so busy playing roles and titles to take care of everybody instead of stopping and saying, what do I need to do to take care of myself? So that was week 3. Um, I talk about pen and paper a lot. And I talk about pen and paper a lot because, or a notes app. Some of you are digital. I'm not going to knock it. I try. I dabble between the notes app and my phone, but I really am pen to paper. There really is something about connecting with yourself and connecting with your ability to write with a pen or pencil on a piece of paper. Many times my writing does not look as good as it probably did in grade school, but the connection is a lot deeper when you can see the words on the page as opposed to just typing it on a screen. But at the end of the day, it's just documenting something, right? So taking that time and really writing down your thoughts as you're going through this, it will help you. That's what I'm finding for me. But I'm always an advocate about pen and paper. So I might be a little bit biased, but if you can, I would say try it. Take a moment and in your notes app or grab whatever notebook, it doesn't have to be brand new and fancy. Just start scribbling some conversation with self. I have all of the prompts for every single week in the community tab here on YouTube. And I also am posting it on my Instagram page at TaptheSoul. So you can always check it out there. And I'm doing that because sometimes we need a prompt when we think we have nothing to say to ourselves. And answering those questions or just provoking thought by looking at the reflection prompts, it can help your brain kickstart. My brain has kickstarted in some points and I don't want to stop, but I have to stop because I need to make sure that I am allowing myself time to process what I've written and just not written for days. I would if I could. So we get to week 4. Week 4 was self awareness. And when I started writing this out as a program, I didn't really understand the flow I was doing. I kind of got it, but I wasn't sure. So week 4 and week 2 kind of go hand in hand, just a little bit differently. So week 4, we start looking at our patterns. What are some of our behaviors? Um, the things we do, why are we doing it? Are we doing it for the right reason? Celebrate the things that are working well for you. Highlight the things that are not working that well for you. And I think for me, week 4, I had to remember that this is not the week to fix everything. Because as I started looking at certain patterns and behaviors that I was encountering, I was like, well, I shouldn't be doing that anymore. I need to change that. And I'm just like, no, like, don't try to fix it. Just be aware of it, be mindful of what you're doing and understand the reason why you're doing it. And if it's something to celebrate, great, you celebrate. And if something not to celebrate, write it down because you're going to address it at a later date. I know, easier said than done. I've been struggling to not try to solution every week that I've been doing this. And that was the other thing. I had to take a step back. I had to stop looking at it as the creator of this program and take myself through it as an individual doing the program. And that mindset shift was helpful as well because I was no longer looking for flaws in the program. There are refinements that I need to do, and I know that. But I was taking the time to properly focus on the actual journey of self care, self nurturing, and self love, which is the whole reason why I put this program together. So I'll probably do a separate post about the program after. But for right now, that's where I'm at. So for week 4, when you start to understand the responsibilities of your life and what you should or should not be responsible for, you get into week 5. And as I said, for me, week 5 was really supposed to be the action week. It was to start going back to week 1, looking at all the brainstorming and brain dump that I did in my journal, the 5 areas of my life that I've been focusing on. What's the extra layer of intentional effort do I need to put to each one of these to really get some crisp, smart, measurable goals in place? And then, as I mentioned, I started reading this book, Atomic Habits, and that went completely out the window. So I'm still going through a figuring it out stage. But when I was looking at the fact that I should be focusing on the system and not my goals, the last couple of days have been interesting in terms of my thought process because I started to really look at, for example, the cleaning of the bedroom theory that I mentioned in the last video, right? Um, my bedroom is a mess. I'm just going to share. My bedroom is a mess. I still haven't fully put my bookshelves together. As I mentioned in a previous video, I have a library in my bedroom. I recently moved a bunch of bookshelves there. So I have a bunch of books that's up there to go on the shelves. I don't know how I want it to look yet. I don't know if I'll get it to look anything like what's behind me. So it's a work in progress. And every time I go in my room, I get frustrated that I haven't done it yet. But when you're looking at a system versus a goal, I can very easily just take everything and throw it on the shelf and check a box that I've met the goal of putting the books on the bookshelf. But I also want to make sure that the system I'm putting in place makes sense. I plan to use the corner of my bedroom, my library, on a regular basis. I don't know if I'll record from there. Maybe one day I will. But I want to know the books that are on the shelf. And right now, I have no clue of the books that I have. I want to know that I'm in a system and a flow that allows me to spend time in my room, whether my bed is made or not, to spend time in my library and know that my room is clean. The energy is clear. I can meditate and not feel like I am consuming cluttered energy. So the book talks about systems, and part of that is really understanding your identity and operating with the identity of who you want to be. This is not a fake it till you make it type of mentality. It really is just being mindful on how you choose your words. So I am openly telling you all right now that my bedroom is a mess. Is it really horrible? Probably not, but my definition of clean could be different from somebody else's definition of clean. I want to have a system in place where my bedroom is clean every single day. I change my sheets weekly. So I want to have a process where I know whatever day I'm going to decide that's the day, I go into a flow and a cycle that I don't even have to think about it. I'm just doing it because I know this is the day that I'm going to change my sheets. This is the time that I'm going to get up and make up my bed. This is the time that I'm going to make my way downstairs and start my corporate job. I work from home 4 days a week. I had to think about that. 4 days a week, I work from home. Just again, and it's that flow, right? And it really aligns with me when I said that I want to have an intention that is outlined by the flow of my life that works for me. So, week 5, Eh, it was a thought process more than anything, but it was actually easier to keep thinking than trying to do because I have the book to guide me to start building out what a system looks like. So now we're into week 6. I'm still reading the book. I am nowhere near finished that as yet. So I have a lot of tools and nuggets that I know are going to continue to help me along the way of this journey. But week 6 is about cultivating mindfulness in a daily life. I don't want to park everything that I'm doing waiting until I finish the book. So I'm going to keep going. But when I talk about mindfulness, I'm going to throw some prompts at you, kind of late in the recording, but they're here. So 3 prompts that I have for you. I'm just looking at my screen over here. So in terms of mindfulness, we get into an autopilot when we're doing things. And sometimes we really do need to stop. And that was what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. When you stop and really ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? Why aren't you doing what you should be doing or what you want to be doing? There's usually some clarity and some understanding behind each of it if you take a moment to pause and ask yourself the question. So, prompt number 1: how present am I during my daily activities? And I'm saying that because you know how you start your day. You start your morning, whether you have to get kids ready or any other responsibilities before you get out the door or go to your location to work. You already know all the steps and you're probably an autopilot. How mindful are you of the steps that you take? And that could be something where you set the coffee machine or espresso machine or whatever you use. I'm a tea girl. So, that process of getting up and turning on the kettle and putting it on the stove and brushing my teeth and taking a bath and getting ready and putting on my face, like there's a whole bunch of activities that we do that we don't even think and realize because we just are in autopilot. So, mindfulness for me this week is actually pausing. So, this morning when I was brushing my teeth, I found a song in my playlist and I pressed play at the same time I was starting to brush my teeth. And I decided that for the full duration of the song, I was going to brush my teeth and think about nothing else. And of course, my brain swayed and went into other areas as I was listening to the song. And that's perfectly fine. The fact that I'm being really intentional and mindful of the fact that I am cleaning my teeth and enjoying some music, I'm not also thinking about the to do list and how long this is taking and what else I need to do, whatever. I took a moment, I brushed my teeth, and I listened to a song the entire time that I was brushing my teeth. And I didn't journal about it after, but I just felt calmer. Like I just felt like I really took a moment to just brush my teeth and appreciate the ability to do so and how clean my teeth felt after, and that I wasn't distracted. Yeah, I had the music going, but I was still focusing on the cleanliness of my mouth. Now, the second prompt: what distracts me from being fully present? And again, like, I just said it, as I'm brushing my teeth and I'm playing music, the music was to zone in to focus on brushing my teeth. But if I didn't have that music going, I would have been thinking about everything else. What's on the counter that needs to move? What am I going to wear? What meeting? How much time do I have before meeting? Blah, blah, blah. If it's a work day, the brain is going all over the place. So taking that step to really ask yourself what is distracting you from your daily activities when you're doing them is going to look really different for you. And I just chose the brushing of the teeth scenario this morning because I actually didn't really plan it. I just did it. And as I'm talking to you, I just realized that, yeah, I actually just threw on music and then figured I'm going to start doing this on a regular basis and kind of see how that takes me through my process as I'm building my system. The last question: what benefits could I gain from practicing mindfulness? Kind of touched on that already as well, right? Where just being a little bit more centered, being grounded, having that clarity, I felt calmer. I felt more, I don't want to say at peace because you're brushing your teeth. Let's not get extreme here. But it just changed the tone of what I was going to do next. And, the what I did next, I made sure that I thought about what I was doing and not just going in autopilot to do the next thing because it was normally the next thing that I would do. Um, this journey is not easy. And I'm pausing here to really just say that. And I probably should have said that 10 minutes ago and 10 minutes before that. This journey is not easy. This is not a quick one and done. It is really supposed to challenge you because you are changing behaviors and habits that you have been accustomed to for as long as you've been accustomed to them. Maybe it could be weeks, maybe it could be months, maybe it could be years. Some of what I've been looking at over the last 5 weeks have been habitual behavior, actions, and thoughts about myself, the things I've been doing for years. And as I said, like 10 years ago, I made some drastic changes in my relationship status and how I interacted with people to try to figure this out. Fast forward, and I'm now at that point to do the work. It doesn't make the work any easier. In fact, it makes it harder because I'm trying to allow myself grace on you just took almost 10 years of your life to start doing the work. I've been doing the work and I have to celebrate that. I'm just now going to do the 2.0 version of the work and be more mindful and be more intentional. So, as you move throughout your day, whatever your day looks like, take a moment and just ask yourself, how can I be more mindful to myself today? And I don't know what your life looks like. So I have to just go and pull from scenarios within my own life. Another key one for me, and it's major, and I didn't realize just how major it was, lunchtime. So I go into the office one day a week, and that one day a week that I go into the office, we take lunch at 12 o'clock. And I'm saying we because we all work remote. We decide on a day, we come into the office, and it's more socializing. You get to see the faces, you're not just on a camera and a microphone. You get to bond and build and hang out and chat and do all this stuff. And sometimes, yeah, you're still in meetings, although you're in the office. But at 12 o'clock, we all make our way to the cafeteria. Some of us bring lunch. I have the luxury of having my daughter pack my lunch for me. So it's been a thing lately where I show up, I sit down, and it's a mystery of what is going to be in my lunch bag today. But that hour from 12 to 1, we're not talking about work. It may creep in, but most of the conversation is talking about our kids, our lives, the weather, usually the weather. I live in Alberta, Canada. There's always a conversation about the weather. But we have a lot of that dialogue that is not, I want to say meaningless, but I actually mean it's meaningful because you're taking the time to really understand the people that you work with and building those relationships and having good dialogue and healthy relationships, right? Now, the other 4 days of the week, we still all take lunch at 12 o'clock, but we're all in our respective homes. I will eat my lunch at my desk. I don't have any meetings, But for some reason, I will still end up grabbing my lunch, coming back down here and eating lunch. So for me this week, my goal is to at 12 o'clock go upstairs, have my lunch, and not sit here at my desk. And it's a behavioral change for me because everywhere I've worked, my calendar has always been so chaotic that that 12 to 1 period was probably the only time people can get on my calendar to get undivided attention from me, which wasn't undivided because I was usually off camera chewing my lunch while I'm engaged in a work meeting. So I get no break throughout the day. I am going from meeting to meeting, no pauses in between, maybe a bio break if I'm lucky, catch some water, refresh my tea, and I'm going all day. You don't give yourself a break. You don't give yourself a time to charge your brain, to ground yourself. So that 12 o'clock marker for me is going to be that I'm intentionally taking the time away from my desk, having lunch as I would if I was in the office. And I may not be communing with my colleagues, but I can still have conversation with my daughter, catch up with a friend on the phone, or just mindfully chew and eat my lunch and enjoy and be grateful that I have a healthy meal that I am consuming because I'm trying to be more healthy. So I'm going to pause there because I feel that I've given more than enough information to talk through the look back of the last 5 weeks and to help you understand the focus for week 6. And as I mentioned, I'm reading the book Atomic Habits as a part of my book club that I'm starting again for 2025. And I'm not going to rush through it to be done to create a system that I haven't properly factored and figured out. So my 12 weeks may go a little bit longer because I'm going to be putting in extra work with any knowledge that I'm gaining from this book. But it still means that I have to do work regardless. I can't sit around and wait for all of the answers in the book and then put something in place. So this week, we're going to cultivate mindfulness in our daily lives. Whether it's me brushing my teeth to music and just tuning out the rest of the world. I journal in the mornings. Whether you have time to journal in the morning, you know what? You can also journal at night. I do both, usually to clear my brain, but maybe you can't journal in the morning because of your responsibilities. Okay, then journal at night. A few minutes in your notes app or, in your notebook journal if you have one, and just write down some thoughts. What are you grateful for? If you're doing this 12-week journey with me, whether you go onto YouTube or my Instagram page, screenshot the different reflection prompts that I've put out there. You can do them in your own way that works for you. It's about curating your life for you, by you. So maybe you want to look at week 4's questions or week 2 questions because that's what popped in your mind. Do that. If something else pops in your mind, it is about prioritizing yourself, right? I say this in every single message that I put out there. It's about prioritizing you. And what does that look like for you? I'm speaking and sharing just to give the support, the background on why I'm doing it and how I'm doing it. But for you, it may be very, very different because your circumstances, your relationships, your responsibilities, your obligations are very different from mine. The point is prioritizing you. So I'm going to look down just to make sure I haven't forgotten anything else because I wrote a lot of stuff down in my notebook, and I think I covered everything. This one's a long one, but I'm hoping that you stuck throughout the entire video, and there was some valuable nuggets in here that you can take. And whatever you feel doesn't apply to you, just toss it to the side. It doesn't apply to you, right? So, whispers behind my smile. It is 12 weeks. I am at week 6. It's the halfway point, and I'm smiling because I'm happy that I stayed disciplined and I stayed consistent. And I'm celebrating what I've accomplished. And I'm even celebrating what I did not accomplish because it's not about failure. It's about prioritizing yourself and taking the time to just go through the conversation with yourself. Um, there's no right or wrong. It's just the fact that you're doing it. So I'm going to tap out here because I've been talking way too long. Right before I do, I just need to take a quick hydrate before my voice taps out on me once again. So prioritize yourself. Week 6, it's about being mindful in your daily life and just figure out what works for you to just really focus on yourself and what you're doing. And the prompts, I'll put them in our community spot here on YouTube, but allow yourself grace. This is not a program where you have to be checking a box every week that you did the thing, or you had the prompts, or you did the whatever call to action I put out there for the week. It really is just knowing that you are taking the steps that you can, when you can, how you can, to prioritize you, to go back and just go through the self discovery. Right. As I mentioned, I'm learning stuff about myself that I knew was there, but I didn't remember. And I'm learning some stuff about myself that I kind of wish I didn't remember. But it just means that I am doing the work. So do the work for you. I'm going to tap out here. Description will have some links below. On Tap Shelf, the book club, Atomic Habits. I have a podcast on Spotify and Apple and a few other spots. It's not here on YouTube because it's audio only. I will post a link for that so you can find that. I'm trying to do a post weekly. I haven't figured out what day is the day yet that I'm going to be posting every week, but pretty much every week there will be a podcast upload, as well as I'm trying to do every week I upload something here just to keep that connection going. And that's it. I will be back again soon because there's still a lot of thoughts in my mind, but I'm wishing you a fantastic day or week wherever you are, and talk soon. Peace.